Hello shooters, I'm Dr. Tactical, and today we are going to talk about a topic that quite frankly I never even gave a second thought to. Probably many of you are in the same boat. I have many revolvers, and whether or not the cylinder has been fluted or unfluted was completely irrelevant to me. Never even thought about it. I thought it was pretty much just a style issue or an aesthetic issue. Maybe some people cared about that. But what if I told you that that decision, whether to have a fluted or unfluted cylinder, actually could affect the outcome of a gunfight? It actually plays an actual role. There are tactical reasons to having or not having flutes on the cylinder. Let's get into it. I'm Dr. Tactical, and the doctor will see you now. Welcome back to the channel, and those of you who are new to the channel, welcome to the channel. I hope you like what you see, and if you do, please consider hitting that like button. It lets others know that people watched it and liked it. Also, by all means, please hit that subscribe button. If you don't do that, then you don't have the opportunity to hit this notification bell, and the notification bell is what will let you know when more highly entertaining and educational content like this is being released. So hit those buttons and let's get on with the video. So as I said, this is a topic that I never really gave a second thought to. I really looked primarily at the cylinders of revolvers as, you know, at the outside of them as pretty much just an aesthetic aspect when it comes to fluting. But it turns out there's really a lot more to it than that. Now, some are obvious, and there's one in particular that I think nobody else has really thought of. I've articulated it because I thought of it, and I've never heard anybody else point this out. And I'm curious if you guys have seen or heard anybody else say this. I'm going to want to know, and I'll get to that in a moment. Let's get the obvious stuff out of the way. The weight. So clearly, by fluting a revolver, then take a look at what we're looking at here. You can see that by cutting those flutes out versus a solid cylinder like this, there's going to be a weight differential. So just by simply removing metal from the cylinder, it's going to be lighter. Now that doesn't just affect the carry weight of the gun, that also affects the trigger weight. Because you need, when you're pulling that trigger and the revolver starts to revolve as the cylinder starts to move, it takes weight to get that started. So you do get the benefit of a trigger pull by having the fluted cylinder. So you've got the carry weight and you've got the trigger pull weight. That's a plus. Also, heat dissipation. So when you flute a cylinder, what you're doing is you're actually causing more surface area. And the more surface area you have, the more the heat will leave the surface. The more the heat will go out into the environment, and the quicker the cylinder will cool back down. So heat dissipation can be an issue, I guess, if you're really firing a lot. It's a pretty thick piece of metal, but nonetheless, and the thicker the metal is, the more it's going to hold on to that heat. So we know that metal is a conductor, so it's going to take the heat from the initial firing, and you do have that benefit of the fluting. So there's that. Strength. Well, I think we can agree that the solid bore cylinder here is going to, or I shouldn't say solid bore, solid all the way around cylinder is going to be stronger. The more metal you take away from the cylinder, the more it's going to weaken it. Now, that may allow you to fire much hotter loads in the heavier, well, it is heavier, but in the non-fluted cylinder. So that's beneficial. So that's a benefit of the non-fluted. The tactile indexing. So in a situation where your visibility is not great, or God forbid, you're in a situation where you really need to keep your situational awareness and there's something bad happening, and you don't want to look down. I know that Clint Smith holds it up, and he does his loading in front of him, but nonetheless, that's still going to affect your situational awareness to some degree. Having the ability to feel those grooves or the flutes, I should say, will help you to just sort of establish where you are in space on that cylinder. Now, I should point out, though, that there are the spaces for the locking lug underneath that comes in and holds the cylinder in place, which it is on both of the cylinders. And that is in perfect line with the holes. But by having the flutes, it definitely makes it easier to establish where you are on the cylinder when you're holding it, because they come in between the holes for the rounds. So for reloading purposes, you're better off with the fluted barrel, or I'm sorry, fluted cylinder. Okay, now for the one that I sort of thought of, and I played around with it, and sure enough, I think there's value to this. Now, I really would like to hear if anybody else has heard, if you've heard anybody else say this. I'm really curious. Otherwise, it's the Dr. Tactical finding here. You know, one of the big negatives on revolvers that people throw up, because we'll comment, you know, I love my semi-autos and I love my revolvers, but I've gotten a lot of heat for loving revolvers from some of my tactical friends. And one of the arguments that I've made is when you take a semi-auto, and this isn't just me, this is pretty well known knowledge. If you press a semi-auto up against a assailant, or anything really for that matter, you're going to take that firearm out of battery and render it useless. But if you take a revolver and push it up against there, it's going to be, you can still fire it and pull the trigger all 6, 7, 8, or 5 times, depending on how many rounds you have in your cylinder. So what people in the semi-auto fan club will throw back at me is like, yes, but if somebody reaches over and grabs your revolver and they get hold of the cylinder, it's not going to rotate. And now you can't pull the trigger. So, aha, that's the trade-off. So I thought about this and I played around with it. And if you grab a cylinder with flutes, it's much easier to disengage, or I shouldn't say disengage, to stop somebody from being able to pull that trigger. You can get a much better grip. Whereas if you have a smooth round cylinder and somebody reaches over and tries to grab it, your ability to pull that trigger and their ability to interdigitate into those little grooves to get a better grip goes down. So your chances of being able to get off that next shot are better. So if you've heard anybody say that before, I please put it in the comment section, because I think that's a unique spin on it, and I'm trying to take credit for it if it is my thought. But it's something to keep in mind. There is a benefit to having that round cylinder from a tactical standpoint, because now you've rendered it more difficult for somebody to incapacitate the revolver by grabbing it. So that's just my interesting little twist on it. I thought I'd put that out there because I had a little time. Anyway, please let me know what you think. I look forward to the next one. I'll see you guys then. I'm Dr. Tactical. Dr. Tactical, out.